Welcome to this webinar. I believe you can hear my voice.
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Julius.
Thank you. We are all welcome. And this is our 7th webinar in the webinar series on competencies for evaluation, where the series consists of 8 informative webinars during April to November 2021. Participants will get an opportunity to engage in dialogue and interactive discussions with the experts, and therefore we are all welcome. We can move to the next slide. So welcome to this webinar. My name is Julius Lembito. Will be moderating this webinar. I coordinate as CEO of Evaluation Society of Kenya. I'm also adjunct lecturer at Daystar University, teaching various courses in M&A, community development, development policy, and strategies. I also have over 15 years of experience in community development work, including from design, proposal writing, implementation, up to scaling up. Thank you and welcome, so that we can go together during this webinar. So as we begin, let's look at some of the rules that will be guiding us, the ground rules. One is that we kindly keep our microphones muted and the video feed disabled at all times. Leave your questions in the chat bar. They will be addressed during the question and answer session. Other concerns, you can email us at the displayed email address, edpen.info@gmail.com or appear.secretariat@gmail.com. Next slide. To begin us off, we will have opening remarks from Jabin. Jabin is co-founder, Eval Youth, Pakistan. Thank you and welcome, Jabin.
Thank you, Julius. So hello everyone, and a very good evening from my part of the world. I welcome you all to our 7th webinar on behalf of Asia Pacific Evaluation Society and Interregional Institute for Professional Evaluation. It's great to have you all on this 7th webinar, and I wish you all have a great learning session together. Thank you. A very warm welcome again.
Thank you, Jabin. Yes, and therefore we take this opportunity to invite our speaker, to welcome our speaker, Ruchira. Ruchira has 20 years of experience in quality and HR in manufacturing private sector and in development sector. Currently working in the capacity of Senior Quality Assurance Manager, certified master trainer who actively contributed to build competency models, team leader of professionalization of evaluation in Asia Pacific region evaluation strategy, formulation and deployment, and a member of EDP. Welcome, Ruchira. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Julius and Shesta, for the wonderful opening remarks. and setting the tone, creating the energy, radiance required to start the presentation. I hope all of you can hear my voice properly, audible. Hello,
Yes,
everyone. Okay.
yes, can hear on my side.
Okay. Thank you. Hello, everyone, and a warm welcome to all of you who are joining for the 7th of 8 webinar series on competencies for evaluators. In fact, it has been a wonderful journey with a lot of learning from and with each other so far. And today we are concluding the discussion on the 6 competency domains. Next slide, please. All right, for those who are joining for the first time today, I hope most of you have joined us during the previous webinars as well. But let me explain the overall learning outcomes of the entire webinar series. Okay, so the first one is to understand the need for professionalization of evaluation with due recognition for competency as a strategic pillar of success. So this discussion ultimately connects or fits with our global march on professionalization of evaluation. We know there are certain strategic pillars that we are working on with a lot of tactical plans, and competency is one of them. And we have capacity, demand, and governance, and some other strategic pillars. The second one is understand the importance of competencies for evaluators, why it is important for evaluators, and understand competency framework, product and process features, and various users. And ladies and gentlemen, this entire webinar series is based on the knowledge product, competencies for evaluators, that is a part of professionalization theme in Asia Pacific Regional Evaluation Strategy, and it's sponsored by UNFPA Asia office. And the last but definitely not the least, understand the learners need to do as individual to identify competency gaps, bridge them, and continuously sharpening and enhancing them with simple development plans. So we can propose a structure, we can propose a product, but product is good and is becomes practicable when we together want to use it practically. Next slide. Okay, so the discussion, the topic for today is personal and professional development. In fact, this concludes the discussion of 6 competency domains. I must say this personal and professional development, when you see the topic, it's a competency domain for sure in the product, but it's a subject of common interest. And you all can join, share your ideas, your views, thoughts, comments to enrich the learning. I know that there are a lot of ideas and views from you. You carry a lot of enormous experience, and you can speak through your experience about your professional journey. So I invite you, use the chat box and share your ideas. Next slide. So again, as I did in all the webinars, I would like to start with a pitch of a quote. In fact, we have 2 quotes. The first one is a very famous one, but it still gets refreshed when we see it. Live as if you were to die tomorrow. Learn as if you were to live forever. Mahatma Gandhi. So this domain is about lifelong learning. So let me again refresh and give new fragrance to the word learning. And the second one is a bit of humor if you think about it. in that way. And in fact, it's coming from a comedian, Milton Berle. And if opportunity does knock, build a door. So what does it mean? We usually miss a lot of opportunities, and opportunities are recognized when we easily when we are losing them. So this is about creating opportunity. And even you get a problems, we do a lot of problem solving daily, okay? And even if you get a problem, there is a saying that there is an opportunity, a chance to do come up with an improvement at least the equal size to the problem. So create opportunity, learning, those are the catchwords from the slide. Next slide. Okay, when I say personal and professional development, first, if I have to develop myself, the first step I have to do is to understand who am I, understand self. So it's very important, know yourself, reflect yourself, and renew yourself. So first one is to know yourself. So to know ourselves, we can think of different strings, different paths or streams. First, we talk about values. What is important to you? What is important to me? A community service, volunteering, good health, something else. And these are just indicative words, okay? So everybody is unique. So this structure is unique to you. And personality, you are unique. Personality is important. How you think, feel, act. Are you an artistic person, a confident person, generous, sincere, reliable, patient? It helps to pick the right career also, career too. And what are the interests that things you like to do, you like most? Know your interest to choose your career. So you can take a piece of paper and do a simple interest survey. Think about your likes and dislikes. What are the things that you like most? Painting, reading, traveling, and many more things. And skills, things you know how to do. You have the ability to do that. So think about building up a skill inventory for you. I'm sure you will come up with plenty of things that you can do than you think. So maybe writing, editing, communicating, selling, present, training, coaching, mentoring, explaining, the negotiating. So a lot of things, lots of skills that if you take your skill inventory. And your learning styles are also important. Not everybody learns the same manner, same way. So there are different learners. Now here you can see a list of 8 different kinds of learners. Sometimes some people are good with words, verbal linguistic learners. And some are good with numbers. Some are good with visual, and spatial learners are good with imagining things. They like space. And musical, rhythmic learners, they have musical talents. And some are bodily kinesthetic learners. They like to touch and feel. And some are interpersonal learners. They love to work with people, be with people, to want to get on with people. And some are intrapersonal. So they have some roots rooted inside. They are well aware of self, and some can be nature lovers. So there are in you, find out what kind of learner are you. What is your learning style? So overall, this picture gives you a good explanation, description of your own self. So that is important, to reflect yourself and renew yourself. Next slide. So slide before. Okay, super, thanks. So agenda for today, expectation of evaluation. That is a very quick look at what by doing all of these things, what we are trying to serve in the field of evaluation, and competency framework in a nutshell. And competency domain, we want to understand what is what is this competency domain? Personal and professional development. And a performance criteria, I would like to say there are topics that I can discuss rather than a performance criteria. We can discuss about a topic. So we'll discuss some career professional development topics. Usually when I did these webinars for the previous topics, previous domains, I followed a certain structure. So performance criteria and also the workshop challenges, workplace challenges and conditions and like that. But this topic I took a liberty to discuss in a much more free manner. So I would love to cover some career professional development topics and understanding competencies with indicative behaviors. Again, we are going to the nitty-gritties of personal and professional development. And then continuous professional development path, assess the 3A path, assess, acquire, and apply, and learning journey continues. Stay tuned. So next slide. So expectation of evaluation, we know able evaluators are not enough. We need capable evaluators. When capable evaluators get the required, they absorb and become competent, they will become competent evaluators. And when competent evaluators gather exposure, experience, work in different contexts, so they'll become qualified evaluators. They can take up any evaluation challenge, and they will definitely produce credible, reliable, and useful evaluations. So that those evaluations will be quality evaluations. Excuse me. And when we produce quality evaluations, the stakeholders will be compelled to use those quality evaluations, and the ripple effect will be immeasurable, and that will improve policies, organizations, and programs. Finally, so what we want to see is improved quality of work life of people. That is the ultimate goal. That is what we as evaluators, the professional, love to see. Next slide. Okay, competency framework in a nutshell. This is the product with in numbers, the structure. We have 6 competency domains. We have 43 competencies, and we have 208 indicative behaviors. So the competency domain that we discussed today has the least number of competencies and indicative behavior. That doesn't mean that that is not important as other domains. All other domains, or this domain and all other domains, are important. And in fact, in the previous competency products, most of competency frameworks or capability frameworks, there has been a tendency to park the professional side, the first one, the professional practice, and also the personal and professional development, both parts together. So they sometimes some call it as reflective practice, but when we discuss this product, we want to give much more prominence to personal and professional development, because when I look at the transversal professions, the other professions, they have given lots of prominence to this competency domain. So that's why we want to make it two. One is professional practice and also the personal and professional development separately. Next slide. So let's look at the competency domains, personal and professional development. In this domain, we have 3 competency areas: self-awareness and renewal, career development, learning and growth. And under that, we will discuss the different competencies under those competency areas. So in these domains, it says essential competencies needed to sustain lifelong personal and professional development and growth. In fact, the tribute to to the inputs and insights I gathered from in developing these competency domains, mainly from the taxonomy of competency domain for the health professionals and competencies for physicians. There is a team who has worked on competency taxonomy. Taxonomy is a kind of a structure or a set of competencies arranged together. And you all know that in other professions, particularly the medical profession, the competencies are considered as a very high level, and they have very matured competency taxonomies and also competency framework. So this is so I took some insights from them, and in fact a lot of things actually are general in context as well. When we talk about personal and professional development, it's a subject that has been discussed many a times. Next slide. A performance criteria. Evaluator competencies focus on demonstrating the skills and qualities required to sustain lifelong personal and professional development and growth in the evaluation practice. Next slide. Okay, so let's look at some career and professional development topics to start with. And this era is actually era of do-it-yourself career development era, because we see that not a lot of reinforcements, lot of resources and the support coming from outside. We have to generate our own development as much as possible. And we also work with different generations, not only millennials. We are, as I mentioned before, we are now ready to work with centennials as well, people who were born after 1997. So if you look at the new generations, their career habits, they usually look for shorter tenures, average 3 to 4 years. And they are also looking for quick, fast, smart, and dynamic career moves. And you know, this the new generations, they are very participative, image rich. They like smart moves, and digitization has changed the whole world, the life practices, and go through the mill slowly become obsolete. So the people who have gray hair like me, the matured people, we say that you need to go through the mill. You have to learn it in the hard way. But that equation formula is slowly becoming vanished. The smart work and smart moves is the new approach. And sharp and marked contrast in old and new ways of career development practice. If you look at the old and new ways, there is a sharp contrast in career practices. Even companies, from the companies, the investments becoming less, more to do with own self. Next slide. And if you are a professional, there are certain things that you need to do to improve continuously, inch up your profession. So if you take professionals, they very quickly figure out what are the blind spots are, and then they'll fix. They have some practices. Most of them are routines, daily practices, habits that help them to keep growing day by day, minute by minute. So professionals, they understand what's blocking their career, and then they apply KISS principle, keep it sweet and simple. And good performers always seek and correct, and they are very humble. Particularly when we work in the development sector, we have to work with a lot of humility and humbleness. And if something is wrong, then we have to admit that is wrong. If I make a mistake, we learn from the mistakes, and move on. And then another important thing, important thing, I would like to call it as quick LL mindset, LL lesson learn mindset. After every event, something that you can do is just to do a very quick reflection of the activity or the event, or the event that you have engaged. What went well and what could have been improved, what could have been better. So take a piece of paper and have to divide it to two and think about what went well. If it is a presentation, if it is a webinar like this, or it is an evaluation project, or it is a focus group discussion, or an analysis, or whatever. You can practice this a quick lesson learn mindset and inculcate Kaizen mindset. Kaizen is actually a word for continuous improvement coming from Japan. So it's a Japanese lifestyle. They look at things to improve. How can I improve things around me? And seek good mentoring and peers to support. Next slide. Okay, so I would also love to touch the career development side. I think you all know it, and particularly for if there are young and emerging evaluators who are joining with this webinar, this will be very useful. The accepted good way, accepted the standard or the effective way is to plan and develop your career in a systematic manner. So how do we do that? Otherwise, it will be not careers, it will be carriers. Carriers bring people from one place to another place. So how did you do that? First thing is the very important step to know yourself. We discuss about that. And your values, interests, skills. I'm not going that again in detail. And then explore options. Do a bit of research, small research about the occupation, about M&E field. What are the new landscapes? And what are the industry, the trends in the field? What are the career options? What are the emerging jobs in the field? So do a little bit of research about the field, and then get focused, get set, make decisions, set your goals, and choose your action plan. Nice, workable, realistic action plan, and then take action. So plans are of no use if you don't have, if you do not put them into practice. So practice it, get experience, connect with the employees, connect with peers, search jobs, and have some follow-up mechanisms to see, like monitoring and evaluation, to see where are you at the on a certain point of time, and then move on. So the follow this cycle in a systematic manner, methodical manner. Next slide. Okay, I would also love to give you a picture of about the performance and fulfillment. Now you can see these two words. Usually we talk about performance. We say performance, 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 but seldom we know that it is very important. Do we really focus on fulfillment as well? Because performance without fulfillment is actually half filled. It's not a full experience. And there has been a lot of research on this area, and I would the things that I have parked here is the top 15 retention drivers. When the top HR consultation companies, they did some research with the professional. It's not only for development sector, it is both development sector and the non-developed the other sectors as well, like private sector. And this is not in order. Okay, so you can take a snapshot and see for yourself, what are my retention drivers? So these are the usual retention drivers classification, and then they have, I'm not going to disclose the statistics for certain professions, okay, but you can think of different retention drivers of yours to stay in the development sector, instead to stay in a particular job. Exciting work and challenge, and some admire career growth, learning and development, and working with great people and relationships, and fair pay, supportive management, and great superiors, great bosses, being recognized, valued, respected, and benefits, and meaningful work, and making a difference and contribution to the society, to the community, pride in organization, its mission and products, and great work environment, culture, flexibility you have, and autonomy, creativity, and sense of control, and job security and stability, and location maybe, and the diversity you have, the changing assignments, different challenges. So there can be plenty of things that will keep you retained in a particular job. So just to think about different retention drivers, just to understand what could be the retention drivers that are considered worldwide, and what are your retention drivers. Next slide. Okay, so let's move to the competencies with indicative behaviors. First, we talk about self-awareness and renewal. And the competencies develops the ability to use self-awareness and reflective self-renewal techniques for self-growth. And under that, identifies own strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Basically, is a SWOT analysis, and uses them for personal and professional development. Develops the ability to use self-awareness or knowledge, skills, and emotional limitations to engage in appropriate help-seeking behaviors. Establishes links between own personality traits and characteristics and how they influence others with a behavioral improvement mindset. So it's a journey, continuous journey. I look at myself, what are the behavior corrections that I need to look into, and how can I, when I deal with people and with my own self, the personality and traits, what are the things that I need to improve? Apply self-renewal techniques for self-development and growth. There are a lot of self-renewal techniques. We say keeping a diary, use the Johari window, and 90-10 rule of the Stephen Covey. There are a lot of techniques that have been proposed by the HR professional, the career development mentors and counselors. But you can choose, you can use your own self-development techniques for growth, and balances work and life responsibilities effectively. I should say is debatable. There are controversial views, and some say that the new school of thought, they say that, look, we don't have two lives to balance. It's not another life, different life that is going to work on Monday, and another life that is laying leisurely at home on a Sunday. It's the same life we have. So now people talk more about work-life integration rather than work-life balancing. But you know how we need to balance as professionals our work and also our life options and life priorities. And the second one is career development, applies career planning and development skills. We covered a bit of it before. Utilizes career planning skills to pursue higher order career ambitions, and analyzes and adapts short and long-term professional goals to create a career development plan with actionable steps and clear timelines. That also we covered in the some slides before. Next slide. And learning and growth engages in lifelong lifelong learning and competency enhancement. So attends training programs to enhance knowledge on evaluation theory and practice and evaluation competencies, participates in communities of practice and peer group activities. The COP, or communities of practice, is a wonderful way to enrich our learning experience. The discussions that take place in those forums are very valuable, really valuable, and participates in professional and community events and activities. And these days we have the Eval Walk the Talk drive campaign, and identifies competency gaps to bridge and work with determination and dedication to improve evaluation competency. So this webinar is meant for competency development, and joins professional organizations and is an active member looking to add value. I don't have to explain it word by word, because you all know, I know that you are part of different your own, you have your own organization, but you are also part of other professional alliances as well, and involves and actively engages in meaningful networking with others in the global evaluation community. So this is also very important. Networking is very has high importance. But I would like to mention one point here that has been discussed and that has been guided by the Harvard University in one of their publications. They talk loud about networking. So something one or two important points there is, it's not the number that matters. It's not the number of networks that you are engaged, you are connected with, and it's not the number of people. So the bigger the better is, don't buy that myth. What is important is the go for less is more concept. So carefully curate your network, so that will be mutually beneficial. That will be beneficial for the others and also for you, depending on the needs and depending on the wants. So that is something that I want to highlight here. So that's about learning and growth. Next slide. Okay, so let's move on to the 3A approach: assess, acquire, apply, take charge of your professional development. Next slide. Okay, so you will be seeing 3 slides. Okay, so these 3 slides is an effort to create, to develop a kind of a maturity, professional maturity, I would say continuum or maturity path for M&E profession. In fact, I don't say that this is perfectly correct, or the every line is true or something like that. This is a proposal with to differentiate the different levels in your professional development. How do you identify them with certain elements of assessment? And I would like to give tribute to African Evaluation Associates. A lot of inputs are coming from that part of the world to summarize it, to encapsulate this. And Julius is on the call. He can subscribe a lot of inputs here. And there are some inputs coming from the other professional development webinars as well. So what I have tried to do is to give you some growth stage, the professional maturity stages, and some elements that you can gauge the different stages when you are moving up your professional ladder. So the basic, we know the M&E introductory training received, degree or diploma level, and of course earlier most of us don't have field experience in M&E. And when we get it, the career gets consolidated, will slowly become sure-footed, and M&E introductory training plus degree and diploma plus some field experience, at least 2 to 3 years, and then postgraduate training in M&E, and able to develop a project M&E plan of your on your own and some associated tools, work in a group and part of a team to create the baseline, evaluation and assessment, and has conducted some assessment and survey. So that is how you can consolidate. You can the elements that you can focus when your career gets consolidated. So next slide. Okay, so when the career gets established, depending on the stage where you are in, and then you can go for, in education side also, you can look for some higher order educational qualifications, and like masters in M&E, postgraduate diplomas related field or research or social science research, and then the number of years of experience gets increased, 3 to 10 years of independently leading program evaluation and research, and great experience using data collection and research methods, applications, able to communicate results effectively to stakeholders, and you're also developing your soft skill set and produce research reports and gray literature. Gray literature is something non-standard, non-traditional literature, like white papers, like speeches, the journals, the urban plans, the policy papers, and publish research findings for internal mainly within the country, and you can actually expand your horizon, usually good in either public or private data and M&E platforms, and then you will slowly become a facilitative trainer, that you can train others, you can teach back. Next slide. And when you become when you reach the excellent level or outstanding level, or an expert, or whatever you call, whatever name you call, masterate or doctorate in M&E related field or research, great experience in use of various research methods, more than 10 years of experience, independently research and or evaluation in multiple projects, and publish peer-reviewed journals, articles, and various other publications, research work, and a lot of variety of experience, both humanitarian and development work, managerial experience, multicultural experience, and your code switch, you can use more than one international languages, and experience in public and private data systems, M&E platforms, great experience in data processing and analysis software, and technology use. And so likewise, there are certain elements that you can focus on when you become an expert in M&E. Next slide. Okay, I think we have come to the conclusion of the presentation. And convergence and wisdom from expert, what do they say? They say curriculum provides the foundation, knowledge and practice sharpen the professionalism. I think you all agree with that. And both practice and academic training improve M&E by exchange during peer learning and assignments. So there a lot has to be learned through peer learning and assignments. And certification offered define capabilities. Certain certifications define that speak volumes about your capability. Learning institutions become custodians of sharing learning, innovation, and nurturing of the discipline. Okay, next slide. Right, so we have come to the end of the presentation. So webinar 7, the presentation ends here, but learning journey continues. The next webinar would be dedicated to recapturing of the learning, the salient points, the salient learning points and insights and inputs that we have gathered throughout these 7 webinars in this series. So now we can move to the Q&A session, and Asela is the president of Asia Pacific Evaluation and Sri Lanka Evaluation Association. She is also joining with me in the panel to address your queries, your questions And please do share your questions. And again, I'm telling you that don't limit to questions. If you have a comment or if you have a valuable thought to share, please do so. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ruchira. That was a very wonderful presentation, very educative, informative, and we are glad to have participated in your presentation. So we go to question and answer session. Question and answer session. I see most of the posts that are made on the chat are about sharing the slides. And we have received a question. We have received this question, and it says, Dear Ruchira and all, what is your opinion about the necessity of the certification in evaluation?
Yes.
There are certifications related. Sorry, that's the question. May go ahead. Welcome.
Yes, Julius, you want to explain something?
No, I was reading the question.
Okay, so when you say certifications, there are different certifications for evaluation, and there are courses that you need to follow to become certified evaluators. I think I would like Asela to talk about more on the technical side certification. But on the competencies, if I talk about professional competencies, the subject that we discussed during this webinar series, I can say that certain effort to certify competencies as evaluators is a very important subject. And if in fact the other professions, a lot of other matured professions have embarked on that journey, on that path, and they have their clearly defined standard certification pathways for their fields. So the point blank, the frank answer is certification is very important, and you can think of different aspects of certification. Of course, the technically the M&E certification is super important, and also the competency side, your professional capability side certification is also important. That is something that we also need to think loud, and that is the direction that we want to go in for evaluation for M&E, which is not in practice at present. Asela, you want to add your comments on certification, the question on certification?
Yes, Ruchira, thank you. And also thanks, Julius, for picking this question. And also we must thank the participant for raising this question. This is a very important question regarding professionalization. And many people ask about, certification. And only few countries have, professionalization process started, maybe 2-3 countries in the world. And we don't see certification program unless in other than in Poland, I think. The reason is that there are many issues in the evaluation profession, whether there are proper academic courses on evaluation, and whether there are proper training on evaluation, whether there is proper process of assessing evaluators. These are the questions unanswered so far. And who can certify evaluators, whether the National WOPE can do that, or the government, or any other institution, whether there is any regulatory body to certify evaluators. And even I don't see IOC, International Organization for Cooperation in Evaluation, is ready for this, whether they have proposed any mechanism to certify evaluators. And that is the kind of mother organization for all the WOPEs in the world. Yet now within Asia Pacific region, we have decided that we need to start professionalization process, meaning that we have developed a competency framework, which was launched this week. And we have developed the competency assessment pathway. Ruchira was the main resource, developed all this. And that was also launched this week. And other related resource materials. So we have the resources regarding this. At the same time, we want countries to start the process, educate people, especially evaluators and other stakeholders on professionalization. And whether the countries can decide whether they want to certify people or any credential program, things like that. At the same time, now Sri Lanka Evaluation Association already started this, and we want to, we have not decided whether it is certification or any other, but we have developed the competency framework and also how to assess evaluators. And next 2 weeks also we have consultation to finalize the Sri Lanka professionalization program. So in this way, also 20th of November we have dialogue with WOPEs and Evaluate chapters in the region about encouraging them to start this. What I want to mention here is very quickly that we need critical mass of WOPEs, Evaluate chapters, and other actors working on professionalization. Because when I said, only few countries have touched this subject, the issue about certification or professionalization, the process, it means that many are reluctant to touch this. But if there are there is critical mass working on this, definitely there will be a big force, and others will also be encouraged to work on this, and that will be good effort to institutionalize something about professionalization of evaluation. That's why we think that we have to start now, and countries should decide what they want, whether professional certification or credential program or any other way of recognizing evaluators. And countries should define their path, because there is no one regulatory body giving guidance. At the same time, Asia Pacific Evaluation Association is ready to guide WOPEs and Evaluate chapters in this region with the materials we have developed and the knowledge we have accumulated on this through these different initiatives and also the webinars. And we are ready to guide our region on this. And of course, definitely we can share any experience with organizations, individuals from other regions as well. But we need to start now, and also countries should decide what they want and get other stakeholders involved. So this is what we believe. And also we think that the necessary components of recognizing evaluators should be there, and including proper training courses, proper academic courses, as well as way to get experience. So this is what I would say. And please, be in touch with us regarding this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ruchira and Asela, for responding to those questions, and especially the question that we have been getting responses about was asked by Aguila, and the materials have been shared, and thank you, Carilas, for appreciating them. So the next question that is up there on the wall is, are there any gaps in evaluation sphere to do a research on? Are there any gaps in evaluation sphere to do a research on? Maybe we can begin with the Ruchira.
Yes, thank you, Julius, and thank you. I'm just looking at the question again. I think it's a broad question, and when you say the whole plethora of monitoring and evaluation, or the sphere of evaluation, of course, yes, there are many areas that need a lot of research. Even I can talk about one area is professionalization of evaluation. So this is one of the areas that we need to research more and identify the different status of professionalization of evaluation in different regions, countries. In fact, as Asela mentioned, that we have the forthcoming WOPE summit on 20th to meet up with the Asia Pacific, the WOPEs in Asia Pacific regions to start this discussion. And in parallel to that initiative, we have also shared the survey form to collect data and inputs and to identify the status of professionalization of evaluation in Asia Pacific countries. So if you look at the global level, there have been some research on professionalization of evaluation, on competencies, the government policy, strategy and direction, and lot of subjects. But we definitely need more and more research on this. When you say the sphere of evaluation, I think it's is very broad. If you relate that question to our subject, I would say yes. There are a lot of areas that we need to be we need to become actors, as Asela mentioned, to create the required wave. Yes, Julius.
Thank you, Ruchira. And this was a question by Elia, and thank you for providing that response. I don't have the full name for this person with the ID as AD. AD wants to know how to become a member of the Asia Pacific EVAL. Yes, Asela, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. I think I should answer that question. Asia Pacific Evaluation Association is a regional evaluation association. Members are national evaluation associations, so national evaluation societies, not individuals. I know that, some regional associations, members are individuals. And some evaluation associations, they have both WOPEs and individuals as members, but Asia Pacific Evaluation Association, by mandate and constitution, only national evaluation associations are members. But we welcome anyone who is interested to work with us, because we have a regional evaluation strategy, which has 8 themes, and there are hundreds of people working with us voluntarily, and we have team leaders from different organizations, different regions working with us to promote evaluation. And our horizons are not limited to Asian borders. We work with anyone. Of course, we promote evaluation in Asia Pacific region, but at the same time, people from different regions and different aspects, we work on that. So anyone is interested to join these teams and work with our teams. And I just shared, the launch messages we released, and we are releasing every day one launch message. And you can see some of the team leaders in these Twitter messages and videos. Even you can be leaders. You don't have to be a member specifically. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Asela. And I see Karel as a comment related to that response given there. The comment is there on the chat. We can refer to it. Thank you very much. The other one raised there on self-awareness, the blind spot. There in the slides, there are those concepts that are presented there as far as addressing the blind spots are, including having a mentor. So let me welcome Asid to give the closing remarks. Asid is a co-leader, Eval Youth, Sri Lanka. Welcome.
Thank you, Julius. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Great. So good evening, and good afternoon, and good morning to everyone joining us today from all around the world. Hope everyone is well and safe. And I've been participating for this webinar series on competencies for evaluators from the beginning, and I'm so happy to see its success. And a huge thank goes to our speaker, Ruchira Paranavitana, for his thought-provoking inputs throughout this webinar series. And it was an insightful presentation on competency domain, personal and professional development. And of course, Asela Kalugampitiya, President of Asia Pacific Evaluation Association. Thank you for sharing your expertise with our participants today. Also, I would like to thank Julius Limbutu, the CEO of Evaluation Society of Kenya, for the great moderation. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Shaista, our Evaluate Pakistan chapter co-leader, for welcoming everyone and opening up the platform. Madhuka, Asela, and Randika, the team behind this successful webinar series. Thank you for all the hard work. Last but not least, I would like to thank our participants for joining us today. And I would like to invite all of you to the next webinar in November, which will be the last webinar of this series. Thank you, everyone. Stay safe.
Thank you, Asid, and welcome to the next round of the webinar 8. Thank you and bye.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.